Hey folks, I'm super excited to be here. This is my first time at DevOps Days Toronto, and it's been a really warm welcome. Don't fall asleep, computer. So what I'm here to do is we are actually going to play a game. Sorry, I can't talk and type my password, evidently. You're just going to have to wait a moment. And that's why we always obfuscate our password field, because I just typed my password badly in front of all of you. Not for login. I have to get into my system before I can use 1Password. So this is not a presentation. I want you to be super clear on that because there are no slides. This frustrates every organizer ever. What this is a game. It is an interactive, choose-your-own-adventure style game that I wrote in Twine, and we are going to play it together. So let me show you how it works. In the beginning, there was darkness. This is Toggle. Toggle is our mascot. Toggle is a non-binary space explorer because what you keep in your spacesuit is your own business. Toggle's going to go on a space trip, so let's pack what Toggle needs. We are going to need some rocket fuel. Have you loaded your rocket fuel carefully? You don't want it to cross over too early, and there's sometimes a graphic there, but not today. So let's keep packing. Toggle's job is working for a spaceline. And the way space lines move through space is they have set points on different planets. But because you don't want to run a space liner into a planet, what you have to do is map out the whole route and then turn on the space lane flag so that the space liners can follow them. So Toggle is out there adventuring on the edge of known space to make sure that space liners can get through safely and quickly. And they are going to make sure that everything is working properly before they send customers through. So it's a little like our deployment process, right? Let's keep packing. Like Toggle, I frequently travel alone, but I have a support crew back home. I'd really like to thank LaunchDarkly for being supportive of all of my crazy talk ideas and for sending me to awesome conferences like this. And then finally, swag. If you take a picture of this slide and go to the URL, cunningly labeled launchdarkly.com/Heidi, you can fill in a form and get a free t-shirt. It's pretty awesome. In case you didn't get one because we did not bring enough for all of you enthusiastic people. All right, so we've now sort of explored how it works to go on a space adventure. Let's go. Who wants adventure choices or case study? What do you think? Adventure choices. There we go. Good job, you figured that out. So adventure choices. Where are we going to go? The rocket's rumbling. It's going to take off soon. Everybody ready? Everybody ready for launch? Yeah, OK. Where do you want to go? Oops. Oh, I love ops people. Ops is full of people who care about things working. If you didn't care about things working, you would not get so much heartburn when they didn't work. So I really think that it's important to talk about some of the things that make ops work. What do you want? Kill switch. I love a kill switch. Something has gone wrong with a feature. Your microservice is barfing out, like, say, hypothetically, 300,000 messages a second. That's not a volume that many people are happy supporting, just FYI. So what are you going to do? Are you going to redeploy? Do you want to be Night Capital? Who here does not know the Night Capital story? Raise your hand so your neighbor can tell you. If you redeploy, you take the risk of deploying the wrong thing. And at best, you're going back to a bad state. Not bad, but a not improved state. If you have a kill switch, however, you can turn off only the part that is broken and then roll forward with all the other things that are still working correctly in that deploy. We say at LaunchDarkly we can do it in about 200 milliseconds. Your ability to do it yourselves varies, but if you have some kind of control surface on your feature, you're always going to have the ability to turn it off if it starts misbehaving. That seems pretty useful. All right, so do we want to go back to oops, or do we want to go on to one of these? You want, sorry, what? I heard you over there. Albatross. Oh, so this I actually got from Fastly because I think it's so cool. An Albatross launch is the opposite of a canary launch. With a canary launch, you're excited about getting things out to people because it's a new feature and you want to test it with some beta users and you want to make sure that it doesn't kill the canary. You want to know that this new thing is going to work correctly, right? Which I should not have explained because we'll do a canary launch later. But an Albatross launch is when you have that one customer who is paying you fat stacks of cash and also they would like to stay on like Java 5. And you're like, you know that was like a century ago? And they're like, yes, but our fat stacks of cash say we are never upgrading. So rather than let any of your other customers know that Java 5 is an option because it's terrible, you can leave these very nice, well-paying customers on the Albatross flag and turn it off for everybody else. Like, what, Java 5? No, never heard of it. Must be a different phone number. New OS, who dis? So an Albatross launch gives you the ability to retain features that you need to retain without making them publicly accessible to everyone indefinitely. God help you. All right, what's next? Internal testing. So Dogfood is for developers, but internal testing can be a larger group within your company. You ever have that feeling where you're like, okay, it works on my machine, it works on my AMI, I'm not entirely sure it works because we are mostly coming out of ops and we don't believe anything works until we have empirical proof that it's been running for 3 days. So what you have to do is deploy something and then be able to test it without everybody in the world seeing it. Maybe not even your beta users or your canary testers, maybe just the people in your group. Do you have a system that lets you refine targeting that far down? If not, think about how to do that because you should be able to internally test everything you write in a full working environment. All right, who's next? Dogfood. Dogfood is like internal testing, but I think there's a couple different aspects to it. So do you want visibility or merging? Visibility. So I want you to test in production. I'm working up a new talk called All the World's a Staging Server, and my boss is a little skeptical about this, where I'm like, kill staging. Please do your integration tests in test, and then when it passes and it doesn't look like it's going to fall over or take down your system, deploy it to production, because who can afford to have full production scale testing? How many of you? Yeah, oh, funny, like no hands, because we're doing web scale. And if we're doing web scale, we do not want to pay for 2x web scale in order to test. So what we're doing is lying and saying that half-assed test servers are staging servers. Screw it. What we should be doing is deploying to production and not showing anybody, except ourselves, how it works in production. All up production with all the noise and all the traffic and all the cross connections and all the weird little things that you can never completely replicate in a test environment. So kill your staging server, test in production. Let's see if my boss makes the sad face about that. I don't think we're live streaming. So which one next? Merging. So merging is this problem. I have been asking this question for a while, which is 20 years ago, we started doing branch-based development, right? Who here got taught branch-based development in school? Some. Who here got taught anything other than branch-based development? None. What happened, I think, is there was a movement that coincided with object-oriented programming, where you should be able to have black boxes that exist in themselves and have an input and output, and you don't need to know what's going on inside. That's great, and it works great with a branching architecture, but it turns out that it doesn't always scale. It turns out that all of those tests to make something work together might be working better in a trunk environment where everybody can see what's going on and you're not conflicting. Because the way the way merging works now is everybody, I'm going to make a new feature. What's the first thing you do? Create a branch, right? Okay, that's fine. Everybody creates a branch. Then what's the next thing you do? Ship it. You are problematic. You better hope your boss is not listening. So the first thing that you do is then pull down master and start working. What happens to master while you're working? It changes. It keeps moving. Other things move. Other people merge stuff into it. Theoretically, you're merging and you're pulling all the time, like once a day at least, right? Effectively, that is not how it works. Effectively, what happens is you finish the feature a sprint later, and you're like, oh yeah, I need to merge that. We have words for this, but only a few of them are family appropriate. We'll say cherry picking. Because then what you have to do is figure out which parts of the work that you've already done actually get to survive. That seems like a really inefficient workflow to me. And I'm like, what if we just all worked in the same place so we could see each other and didn't show things to the world until they were ready? Seems better to me. That's me. All right, let's go back to adventure choices. Who wants what? Development. We've already done a couple of these. We've already done all of them. We already did all of development as we were going through operations, because it turns out development and operations in the DevOps world, not significantly different in their needs. Who knew, right? This is what we've been saying over and over again. DevOps is about both the needs of development and operations to move quickly, be nimble, be testable, and be stable. Back to adventure choices. Let's see. Security. I love security and compliance. I spent years as a security technical writer. What would you like? RBAC. So you've installed a kill switch on your program, or on your feature. How many people do you want to have access to the kill switch? Interns, yes. That's going to be super fun. There are some features or some kinds of things that you would like to have some role-based access control to, because you don't want people turning them on and off. And if that's happening, you want to have a system where you can say, don't even show the intern the deploy coffee to developers, right? You want to be able to hide it. You want to make sure nobody can get to it if they're not allowed to. Makes sense. So when you're building a feature flagging system, remember that it is part of the shifted left security of DevSecOps. If you don't put your security in your feature flag system, you will find out later that you should have. All right, which one? Private attributes. All right, this one's a little LaunchDarkly specific. I'm trying not to be vendor pitchy here, because that's the worst. But you don't always want to show what you're evaluating to a third-party vendor, right? Sometimes there are some like regulatory things that maybe you shouldn't like publish things on the internet. So what you want to be able to do is say, these particular attributes that I do want you to evaluate on, I can't send you. So I'm going to send you a hash of what they are, and I want you to evaluate on that. I don't want you to know what like social security number is, or I don't even want the name social security to be on the field. I want it to be like field 47 and an undecipherable hash. That would be great. So when you're building something that evaluates on user attributes, which I hope you are when you're building a feature flag system, I hope you are also thinking about making it possible to not pass important data across the internet unprotected. All right, let's go for auditing. You are people who have to solve mysteries. Like all the time, we're like, why did that go down? Why is it doing that thing? We spend how much on AWS? All of these things are mysteries that you dig into and solve. But I think there are a lot of mysteries that we would rather not have to solve. And one of them is like, who turned that thing off in production? Like you never want to be like, shrugmoji. So if you have an auditing system that says, these people have controlled these flags to this state, you're going to have a better idea of what went on. And I think that's especially important the more crucial feature flags are to your deployment and your business reasons, the more important it is to be able to say, yeah, actually, so we didn't do the RBAC part, and the sales guy did turn on the new feature that was supposed to be pay only for everyone. And now we have to roll that back. Sorry. All right, what are we going to do next? Deployments. I did promise you a deployment talk, right? So we did Albatross launch, and we did Canary launch, kind of. How about, do you want market segments or semantic versioning? Semantic versioning. All right, so there's this problem where, especially on mobile, but on all systems, where you have this shiny new feature, and it's going to be great, and it's only going to work if your SDK version is this, or if your platform version is this, or if you're supporting, I don't know, Flash, right? It would be nice if you could detect, before you tried to give people this new feature, what level they're on. Because there's sometimes you're like, yeah, so lollipop, that's not a thing we're doing anymore. You don't get the new feature. Before you tried to push it down to somebody's Android through the tiny internet or through the tiny cell pipe, right? So when you're doing delivery of a new feature or an upgrade, you really want to make sure that you understand people can receive it. So I like to offer semantic versioning as a way to understand where people are already at. Do they even need the upgrade? Can they even take the upgrade? Oh, good. Here you go. Let's see. Market segments. How do you know where you should be sending something? How do you know who should get something? Well, there are a lot of different ways to separate people into categories. You can do it by IP range, by server, by country, by browser language, by whatever mystical art marketing has come up with to group people together so that you can, target them exactly. When you are turning on a feature, sometimes you want to be really clear about who gets it. Like, I'm turning on a new Snapchat feature, but I want to make sure it only goes to people who are under 15 because they are the only people who can grasp the mind of Snapchat, right? I'm pretty sure Snap knows how old I am, and they're just like, yeah, you can't even handle those filters. Like, just take a deep breath and send another dog picture. So when you're doing deployment, don't think of deployment as like an all or nothing, here it is, take it or leave it. Think of deployment as yet another opportunity to give people exactly what they want, or not give them what they don't want. because it's so powerful when I get some software that says, yeah, did you want to turn off the noise? Like, I love it when Slack's like, have you already joined Slack? Did I just lose my mic? No, okay. Have you already joined a Slack? Do you need the intro again? I'm like, no, shut up, never tell me again. I like that. That's a way to serve the correct feature to the correct person. They don't give me the helpful tutorial because I don't need it. How am I doing on time? Nobody knows. I'm just going to keep talking forever. 10 minutes, perfect. So what we're going to do is do a little bit of sales and marketing. What do you want? Tutorials. This is the thing I just talked about. Like, some people need tutorials. I really like the Airtable tutorials, but like only once. Thank you, I've got it. So if you've already served somebody a tutorial, that can flip a flag in their user status and you never offer it to them again, or only every like 10 days instead of like every single time they log in. So think about how annoying your product can be or not be if you could target better. Feature tiers. So LinkedIn has two settings, right? Nagging you to go pro or actually being pro. That's all you've got. They're doing that with a feature flag that says, this person has not paid for me to shut up yet. Would you like to be pro? And that's a really powerful way to say, like, it's a permanent flag as opposed to a deployment flag, to say, this is what you are entitled to. You are entitled to the pro level, no nagging version of LinkedIn. Or you are not entitled to that. Or even, like, you have logged in and you're an admin, you can see all the control widgets on WordPress. You are just here to see the WordPress site. You don't get all the control widgets. Using feature flags as a tier distinction is a really powerful way to say, this is all the same code behind the scenes, but I don't have to worry about keeping it separate. All right. So if we have 10 minutes left, I'm going to tell you we're not going to do all of these things. This talk can go an hour. I'm not going to do that because it's almost lunchtime. So case study. We're going to go back to Toggle. Toggle is working for this Spacelane company that added feature management using flags. And since they haven't done this before, they've never had flags before, they have two options. They could do terraforming, where they have to like rework the planet, or they could do unexplored planets. What shall we do? Unexplored planets, excellent. So there are two things when you start from nothing, right? You could do Git and branches, the way you have been doing it all along, or you could do flags and mainline, trunk-based development. What are we going to do? Flags, that'll be great. The new CTO is committed to continuous deployment and wants to be able to push things out into deployment, into production, even if they're not fully cooked, and then when they are fully cooked, turn them on. So they're into deploying dozens of times a day or actually continuously. So which planet do you think we end up on first? We don't know. Up, planet up. We deploy and test quietly before the crowd shows up. We send not a Spaceliner, but like a little space messenger ship, and it looks like it's going to be great there. We're going to settle in. It's going to be awesome. Congratulations, team. So let's go back to the case study. Do we want to go back to Unexplored, or do we want to do, yeah. Do we want to do terraforming or unexplored again? Terraforming. So it turns out that not a lot of us work on greenfield projects. Sometimes we get to the planet and it kind of needs some work, and it looks like a monolith. So there are three main ways to get feature flags into an existing production database. Which one do you want to choose? Whoa, okay, louder. Rip off the bandiad. I love you people. So this is going to hurt, but only for a bit. This is going to be this giant surge because you're going to have to go through your code base and identify the features that you want control over and flag them and then target them. That's kind of a lot of work. It's going to be one of those pushes. Depending on your code base, you're going to spend a few months on this. But you know what? In the end, you are going to have a much more nimble, versatile, DevOps-y code base without actually having to rewrite a lot of it. Because you're going to be able to sunset things that you want people to stop using. You're going to be able to turn up things that only some people want, but you have in the code anyway. It's going to be really powerful. So ripping off the Band-Aid, that's going to work. What do you think? Training is hard or works great? Training is hard. Teaching people to change the way they work and think, especially if they have all of this ingrained memory, is really difficult. And you're going to get some resistance. But if you can show people that there's an actual advantage for them in this system, they will come along. We talk a lot about DevOps culture transformation, and I want to tell you that the best management book I have read in the last 10 years is The Power of Positive Dog Training. And it is legit a dog training book. I don't own dogs. It doesn't matter, because it's all about mammals do what they are rewarded for doing. And if we don't reward people for doing the right thing, they're not going to do it. Like, how many of us would show up at work every day if we didn't have like existential fear of some sort? I personally like living indoors and eating food, and so I continue to have a job. I have a rewarding job. It works out well for me. But we need to motivate people to change. We need to say both immediately, hey, that was great. I really appreciate the work you're doing. I see that. And in the long term, hey, people who get on the DevOps bandwagon sooner are more in line with the culture, and we're going to reward them with better raises or pizza parties, like whatever drives them. So we did the training. We brought people along. They kicked and fought a little bit, but they did it. So now it works great. Toggle loves everyone in this space cantina. This is great, because what you've done is transformed your code base to align with your DevOps culture. What you've done is given people the opportunity to control features even if they aren't developers. Maybe your salespeople need to be able to turn on features for trials. How nice would it be if they didn't have to like file a bug request that goes through the ticketing system to turn on a thing so they could sell something? That would be great. How nice would it be if your support staff could be like, well, maybe the problem is this thing. Let me turn it off for you and see if you have a resolution. That would be pretty great. So when you're thinking about how transforming your code base will be for your developers, also think about what it's going to be like for the differently technical parts of your company. Because I have to say, I have looked at Salesforce. Your sales team is really frickin' smart, because that thing is scary. All right. We have one more time. What do you, terraform or unexplored planets? I think we did unexplored planets. All right, let's do Git and branches. 1, 2, or 3? 2. Merge conflict. That happens. I say that my next career is going to be a mental health therapist specializing in Git issues. And I think I will make a lot of money, because there's nothing like the agony of you have just worked on this thing, and they have just worked on this thing, and your work is in conflict, and now you have to talk to a people, and one of you is going to lose. Oh. So if I was a therapist who specialized in that, it would be pretty powerful. I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's pick another planet. Left planet or right planet? Right planet. Oh, I already did that one. Dope. Congratulations. You've successfully used branching development to create and release the routes for Spacelanes Incorporated. It works. I'm not going to tell you that branching and branch-based development don't work. They absolutely work. You're all doing them. It's great. It works fine. I'm not saying you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm saying, what if it could be even better? So I'm going to leave you with that thought, because all of the lunches are laid out and I can see them. And I want to thank you all for your kind attention. And if you have any questions for me, you can either ask them now. I think I have a couple minutes, right?
We have a couple minutes for questions.
A couple minutes for questions, or you can find me for about the next hour and a half, but then I have to run away before open spaces. Somebody should have a open space on this, and then tell me what happened.
We'll take just 2 questions. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you. So I think I understand and agree with all your points about the benefits of using feature flags, but I don't quite see the connection of how it relates to branch development or trunk development. Would you mind
Okay,
talking
so
about
the
that a bit?
question is, yes, feature flagging is awesome, but how does it relate to branch-based development and trunk-based development? You can do feature flags with branching. It's not a problem. You cannot do continuous deployment and trunk-based development without it, because otherwise you would be continuously deploying broken stuff. So if you are doing the kind of deployment where you are doing thousands of deploys a day or even dozens, you need to be able to incorporate broken stuff without ever showing it to anyone. Does that make sense?
All right, we're actually out of time for questions. We do have a pretty important announcement from our platinum sponsor, CGI. I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Thanks. So yeah, we just wanted to let everyone know that Nicole and Jez will be signing books. They're signing their Accelerate book pretty soon over lunch. So if you want to get an autographed copy of the book, you can line up here and get a free copy. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Mark, and thanks again to Heidi. So for lunch, just